Hey everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the Three Monkeys Park playthrough. Now it's taken a bit longer than I'd hoped to get this video out. I was kind of distracted by putting together my entry for the next Dirklink mini contest, which is the creation of a Gerstlauer bobsled coaster. So I didn't really know what that one was all about, so I kind of had to do some research, and then I spent more time than I'll care to admit on the actual entry itself. I think it turned out pretty good, and I'm actually going to put together a video on the build for that later in the week. So yeah, anyway, it just meant that this one got pushed back a little bit longer than I was hoping. But anyway, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy the video. So the first thing I did was do a bit of maintenance on the Main Street area, and I built a bit of an entrance to it as well, just at the start of the water, which I thought made it look pretty nice actually. And then I get started on the spooky area, which I'm kind of doing for Halloween's coming up in the next week or so. So I thought a spooky area would be kind of appropriate. So the first ride I do for here is a Virginia reel. So it's kind of similar to the one I did in Whispering Cliffs, and so it's basically just a switchback style, and it rolls down the hill down into the main area at the front there. So yeah, I think it looks pretty good. The name of it, well, I called it Real Scary, which is pretty disgraceful, but I kind of like my puns. But if you can think of something different, then I am open to suggestions, so please hit me up if you have anything better than that, which I'm sure most people would. So yeah, I go back and spend a bit of time theming up that Virginia reel. I put a bit of an extravagant queue line for it. I try and avoid elevated paths in this game because I just don't like the support work for them. I just don't think it looks too good. So I try and keep my paths on ground level as much as I can. I put in the main entrance for the spooky area. I just kind of put a basic building there at the front. It looks okay, but nothing too special. But anyway, the main feature of my spooky area is a haunted mansion. Now, I kind of wanted to build one up from scratch as opposed to just building the one that's in the game already. I wanted to build something kind of prominent in the park, so yeah, I decided to get a little bit fancy and use some wooden coaster track pieces to build up the roof. Yeah, I think it looks okay. Doing something like this, you really appreciate. It makes you appreciate the features of OpenRCT2, where you can easily manipulate pieces of track, and you're given actual wall pieces and window pieces that you can use to make the building look way better. The theming options in RCT in the original RCT, which is what I'm playing here, is kind of limited. So like, if you want to build a building, you basically just have to manipulate the terrain and then use some of the very limited surface textures to make it look like as much of a building as you can. So yeah, the mansion looks okay, but it's nowhere near as good as it could look in OpenRCT2. But anyway, I kind of just wanted to see what I could throw together, and I was pretty happy with the result. So yeah, I go back and put a little bit of theming in. I didn't really have anything too special in there. It was just the kind of dead trees and some shrubs. I put in a bit of a courtyard there. I put some fences around the area just to make the mansion look like it was on some sort of a property. Yeah, I wanted to build a ghost train because that seemed kind of fitting for a haunted mansion. It's been a long time since I built ghost trains. In fact, even when I played the game as a kid, I don't think I spent much time building them at all. I always thought that they were kind of overrated. They just never seem to be that popular. Like even this one here, it's got an excitement rating of over 5, but since the intensity rating's under 1, like hardly any guests are interested in it just because it's not thrilling enough for them. So, you know, the high excitement rating doesn't necessarily mean that every single guest will ride it. So, yeah, it's just something to keep in mind. It's mostly the intensity rating that will dictate whether a guest will be interested in a ride. So, anyway, I think it looked pretty good. I liked the kind of graveyard that I built out the back, where the ghost train kind of goes through briefly. Yeah, just fill it up with all kinds of decorations, and I was pretty happy with the end result. Yeah, one thing about the ghost train is that it flies off the track so easily. I did not realize how, like, it really didn't take much speed for it to fly off the track, especially with the tight corners, the 1x1 corners. So yeah, I had to spend a bit of time off camera designing it beforehand to get it right. But anyway, the next thing I got on with was building a side friction coaster. So since there's already 3 big racing coasters in the park, I mainly want to focus on building the less intense coasters. So just because the 3 racing coasters have intensity ratings between like 7 and 8, so I kind of wanted to get some coasters in with a less high intensity rating. So that's the main reason for what I'm doing. That's the main reason why I'm doing that. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the side friction coaster. I used a bit more diagonal pieces than I usually do. I tend to forget diagonal pieces exist, to be honest. But you know, when you get them right, they can actually look really good. I think they really improve the flow of the coaster, and I think they can make it look a lot more realistic when you get it right. So yeah, I was pretty happy with how that turned out, actually. So then I go back and I fill in some of those gaps between the main entrance of the park and the spooky area. Yeah, there were kind of awkward spaces to fill out. I was struggling a little bit with what to do there, so I ended up just using a few flat rides like the pirate ship and spiral slide. I go back and put in a crooked house later as well. But yeah, I think you know, spamming trees really helps, especially if you put a nice mix of trees. They can be really good for just filling out awkward spaces like this. So yeah, I was pretty happy with how that turned out. I fill in the main street of the spooky area with a few fake buildings. Put a hat stall there. Yeah, there wasn't anything too exciting, but I think they filled out the area nicely. The last thing I did was put in a bit of decoration for the 3 racing coasters. I wanted to put the dirt surface texture kind of underneath the chain hill. I thought that made it look a little bit more realistic, as well as putting some chain link fences around them as well. I go back and modify the terrain underneath the high-speed turn on the orange coaster there, just because I like the look of this a bit of support work under the track. So yeah, that's the main reason I did that, just because when you put track on the ground, it doesn't have support work, which makes it look a little bit funny. But anyway, that's going to be just about it for the episode. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.